on Taiwan Talk this week. Taiwanese American conductor Mei-Ann Chen is music director of the MacArthur Award-winning Chicago Sinfonetta. She made her mark in classical music when she was named one of the top 30 influencers by Musical America in 2015, and when she won first prize in the Malko Competition in Denmark, becoming the only woman in the competition's history since 1965 to have won first prize. She shares her story in this week's edition of Taiwan Talk.
You know, growing up in Taiwan was one of the best things that I could ever hope. You know, I grew up with parents who love music, but never had the chance since they grew up right after the Japanese occupation. And so they instill in their two daughters love for music. They provided me lessons on the piano, lessons on the violin for my elder sister. But, you know, my sister was really more of a painter at heart, and she wanted to create in her own space. And so I ended up the double duties of entertaining my parents on the piano and violin, which was all fine, except when I play in the orchestra for the first time as a shy child, as a violinist. I found my true calling. I saw this person on the podium, and when he moved, just using body language, he helped to create the biggest sound in the room. And so I ran home and told my parents at age about 7.5 and said, piano and violin are fun, but I really want to play the biggest instrument in the room, which is being a conductor. And you know, I didn't grow up with a musical family, so I had no clue what it takes to be a conductor. But I just had this calling of, you know, when the music is going, my body wanted to move alongside. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, you know, when you hear music and you want to dance, but it was my two hands. I just knew, like, you know, what to do with my hands sort of naturally. But my parents frowned and said, it's not possible for you to be learning conducting. And in that generation, we're talking about 4 decades ago, I'm revealing my age, that it really wasn't possible that you could go to school and get training to be a professional orchestra conductor. So I was one stubborn girl who didn't take no for an answer. I thought to myself, I had conductors every week, right? And so I could learn from observation. I would memorize my violin part. I guess it was a determination of, you know, wanting to pursue something. I didn't believe that it's not possible. And so it was this determination. And so I would show up in my rehearsal with my violin parts probably memorized, so I could fix my eyes on the conductor.
Okay, to speak to a youngster who loves music, it's a big leap to go from loving music to be good enough to make it a permanent part of your life. What did you have to do to get from loving it to doing it?
You know, it was interesting that I start analyzing conducting, just learning on my own since age 10. Conducting wasn't something of a major yet, and sheer love, you could say. It was a calling. I saw myself able to express myself through body language, and lo and behold, you know, I obtained a violin scholarship when New England Conservatory's youth orchestra came touring in Taiwan, and my older accompanist who graduated from Shida took me backstage to meet the conductor, and he has rarely seen Asian young student who plays so much from the heart. I wasn't doing this for my parents anymore. Passion is what sustained me through the ups and downs. And so even though I got a violin scholarship to come study Boston, I tricked my parents into giving me a ticket to come to America to fulfill my dream of becoming a conductor. But it was really at the doctorate level that I realized I've gotten all the degrees there's to get. But I couldn't get anybody to give me the opportunity to audition for a job. And so I had to make ends meet by teaching 25 to 40 Suzuki beginners in piano and violin. But it was during that year and a half, I was a doctorate candidate, no longer really part of the program. And if you look at my life, I wasn't performing at all. I was teaching little kids. And, if you could teach 40 times Twinkle, Twinkle and make it fresh for every kid, that really tests how much I love music and how could I make that fresh, to share with everyone so they can also love music. And so it was during that time that I really found my voice.
Chen talks about the one moment that changed her life.
It's so interesting. I've always loved the music of Tchaikovsky. Played it, have conducted it, but never before I experienced it. I remember after a whole day of teaching and it's been a year and a half of not doing what I love, which is performing and conducting, but I didn't have any opportunity. I didn't have any ensemble at this point. I was writing my thesis. And so I remember feeling so dry in my soul. I said, this is not it. I got to get myself into the concert hall, which is a place that inspired me to be a musician in the first place. I remember sitting down second half of the concert. It was Tchaikovsky's last symphony, the Pathétique. And it was not like ever before. I sat down and heard the bassoon solo and I was sobbing. I'm sure my neighbors were like, what's wrong with this lady? And because I knew firsthand the despair that he wrote into his symphony. This is the end of his life. And it was, coming to terms with fate. That, life isn't what he thought was going to be smooth and he had so much inner pain. And I totally felt it. And I promised myself on the spot. I had no opportunities. In fact, the rejection letters were more than the notes I ever conducted. I almost forgot. I almost gave up and forgot about the dream I had. And so I made myself a promise. At that moment, I found myself really who I am, who I was as an artist. I had no opportunity, but I realized that I had a realization that it was a privilege and an honor to possess the gift inside me that I could create something meaningful, beautiful to share with others. And for me, that's the gift of conducting. And so I told myself I had no opportunity, but I promised myself once I could stand on the podium that I will always conduct like it's the last chance I get to make music with others.
As a woman, as a Taiwanese American, I'm sure you feel the weight of that on you when you about that for me.
Yes or no, because I think deep down music is one of the best ways to connect with others. I so treasured, my East and West qualities. I love that I'm from Taiwan. I'm friendly, it's just down to my core that I'm humble, I am friendly, I am real, I'm authentic, and yet I, gather, the creativity, when I rehearse, I use a lot of live experience as an example, sharp as a sushi knife. I mean, no conductor uses that, but I use that to rehearse how long the notes are depending on the hall. And I want to make rehearsals fun. One of the best compliments I've got from orchestras is, oh my gosh, it's already break, or, oh my gosh, the rehearsal is so short. We're enjoying so much. And so I try to use the diverse cultural background of my own life to create bridges with many other people. And so this has been a fascinating journey for myself. Conducting has brought me to places that I never thought possible, to meet people I never thought possible growing up in Taiwan. And now, everywhere I go, I'm proud to be the Taiwanese American that I have become.
You were listening to Taiwanese American conductor Mei-Ann Chen. And that does it for this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. You can catch a show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download your podcasts. I'm Hope Go. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.